In the Engler Agribusiness Entrepreneurship Program at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, we know that entrepreneurial adventure can be found right here in Nebraska. Robotics, retail, craftsmanship, or new generation approaches to agriculture, we embrace hard work, creativity, and real-world practicality. Engler entrepreneurs are doers who build for the future. We're purpose-driven problem solvers, community builders, and believe that true capital isn't only money. Help us find the rising stars in your community. Learn more at anglerjourney.com.
If you want to create change in your community, you have to be the one to see it through. And if you are the one with a problem, you have to be the one to address it and be willing to have conversations about it and take action. So we both poured a lot of our time, effort, and unpaid effort, time and effort into this, but we're also getting so much reward from this.
Welcome to Building Nebraska, a podcast for dreamers and doers. We'll ignite your passion for entrepreneurship while highlighting those who turn ideas into reality. Building Nebraska is powered by the Engler Agribusiness Entrepreneurship Program at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Today, we are in Ainsworth, Nebraska, shining a light on a nonprofit organization that is working to provide opportunities to its community members, and I'm so excited to learn more about the Ainsworth Child Development Center. Joining me today is Haley Miles and Karen O'Hare, Vice President and President of the Board. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Rebel.
Well, when you open the can of worms of childcare, it's a hot topic across all communities, both urban and rural, but especially rural. We're sitting in a very nice facility that we just had the chance to tour. Tell us a little bit about the origins of the Child Development Center and how you established a need for it here in Ainsworth.
So in 2020, we kind of really began our vision was created out of a need for childcare. So with COVID, several moms lost childcare, and we knew that this was a great problem in our community and has been for years. Our licensed childcare providers in the county has kind of ebbed and flowed over the years. And so we all just kind of came together and thought the biggest thing we could do is have a center and a facility that could hold a lot of children. So we can have 46 children in our facility, which is a really large number for our population. And so we really did this out of a need, and it's kind of trickled down to all of our businesses in the community and surrounding areas. We have children coming from 3 counties around us and employees in multiple counties around us. And so it's really kind of helped business stability and
This kind of started as a kitchen table conversation on how to create and solve a problem, a dire problem, kind of out of urgency. So a lot of that's how you solve things, right? A lot of times you might have a problem or an urgency, like who's going to fix this, and kitchen table conversation turned into a childcare center on Main Street. So it's been an interesting ride, but uniquely as a center, we are more staple just in offering care to the community. But it's been really cool to see this go from kitchen table conversation, fundraising, to a new nonprofit business on our Main Street.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of steps between your kitchen table conversation, as you mentioned, to us getting to sit physically in the center here today. Walk us through some of the steps that you took from ideation, conceptualizing what you'd like to see in your community, to actually taking tangible steps.
Yeah. So kind of the first steps were debating kind of where to put it, right? So we were looking at what does it look like to build versus secure maybe an existing building. People on and on along the way were like, you'll never be able to staff this, and labor shortages in rural Nebraska. So those are things we thought about, but you can kind of talk a little bit about like the steps.
So in our beginning kitchen table talks, actually our economic development gal, Kristen Olson, approached us and introduced us to Communities for Kids, which is part of First 5 Nebraska. And so we had a Zoom call with them at our second meeting at a kitchen table because we didn't know where to start. And so they really helped us start and kind of led the path. So they brought us in as one of their communities in the fall of 2020, and they really opened up a lot of doors. We were invited to a lot of calls for fundraising and what are other communities doing, and other centers that haven't opened yet, but they're a couple steps ahead of us. And so we had a lot of guidance from them. And we got a technical assistant, Melissa Polinoski, out of Atkinson, and she was like on call 24/7. So Devin France, our treasurer, and I constantly calling Melissa for help and guidance. And so they helped us get our budget together, kind of gave us the guidelines for you need to raise X amount more than you think for operating expenses. Maybe look at an existing building versus a new build. We've seen this be successful. This hasn't been quite as successful. It doesn't need to be fancy. We don't need granite countertops. We don't need hardwood floors. We need function and nice things that are going to last, but it's going to be beat up regularly by little people. And so,
we definitely say any community looking at trying to address or where to start with a childcare shortage in their community, Communities for Kids and First 5 Nebraska have been instrumental in supporting us and guiding us, because we have no experience in childcare. None of our board really does. No. And so we were just trying to solve and meet a need, and they were instrumental in helping us guide and make decisions in that process.
Yeah. And we did have a lot of community members step up once kind of word got out. So our old sale barn, actually, a retired teacher owns that, and he offered to donate that piece of land to build on. And then you kind of dive into like, how do you remove the old sale barn off of that and the expense of that? And this was in 21, so everything was really high in comparison to just a year prior. And so we just had kind of off the wall ideas, and it was like, well, let's jump on one and see what sticks, and that's kind of how we landed where we landed.
Yeah, well, something really impressive that you shared with me before we started recording was that you were able to fundraise $2 million in a span of 12, 13 months. You'll have to correct me there. Yeah. How did you go about getting such widespread community support and buy-in in such a short amount of time at that?
So we started actually with Communities for Kids. We were introduced to the Buffett family, then the Scott family. And so they do a lot of early childhood donations and information across the state. And so actually the Scott Foundation, so the Ruth and William Scott Foundation, gave us our first big $200,000 donation. And that really kind of gave us the light and the fire we needed to
Absolutely.
people believe in us. People believe in rural Nebraska. And then the Sherwood Foundation matched that $200,000. And then we created a business plan. This is a business. It's a nonprofit, but it's still a business. You can't lose money. You just have to break even. And so with our experience with our team, we made a really strong business plan. And so then we started knocking on doors for all of our local businesses. Here's our business plan, here's our financial plan, very broken down. We had a really great book and a trifold guide that we met with all of our local businesses. And one of the banks started a $25,000 donation, and then all of the banks kind of got on. We did 2 annual radiothons. So in 1 hour, the first year we raised $50,000, so it was a match. We had a match from Union Bank, and so the community donated $25,000.
Yeah, they matched the 25 to the 25. Yep.
And then the second year we actually did a seed corn challenge, is what we called it. So we got all of our local seed corn dealers to donate, and we got to $25,000, and then we did that again with community matches. And so in rural America, it's really hard to find a $1 million donor. And so it was really eye-opening for the larger communities and the larger donors in Lincoln and Omaha of well, surely you have someone that can donate, $500,000. And it's like, no, we can't. We're not city. We're not city people. We don't have, an expanse wealth pool. You hear. So $25,000 is a lot.
And just being in the greater Nebraska area, it's different than even some eastern Nebraska communities, uniquely just where kind of the western meets the east in the farming and the ranching, and so it's just a different area. But we could not have done it without those donors who helped kickstart us, and Scott and Sherwood. And I think that just gave us the belief in ourselves too, to take ourselves more seriously. And I tell people all the time, our board is such a unique group. We have skills that cover everything. So Karen has like a great sales background. I'm an alumni of Engler, and just my experiences, I started in sales like after school, and some of our leadership potential on our board. We have teachers, we have a local dentist. We just, all the 8 women who make up our board, and historically, like, we just work together really well to fill the needs. We had someone who had a degree literally in home design and helped us make this functional and pretty, and we couldn't have done it without her working with architects. So I think people saw that we were like just a unique group. There wasn't division within our group. Like, we were just, once we started rolling, we were steamrolling. We weren't getting stuck and bogged down in the stuff that just kind of happens in, you know, in rural boards and in civic engagement, like you guys know. And so I just think we were all pushing the same direction, and people saw that and they bought in too. And it really, like, we weren't gonna stop.
No.
And just
No.
like, and if you've met
Tell
Karen
me
or
no.
you've met anyone on our board, like, if you said no, like, we were gonna find another way. Like, okay, like, let's figure out the next thing. So,
And also the Brown County Foundation, they gave us our first $20,000 local donation. And I remember Nancy Steinhauser and I went to their meeting because it was like, hey, the foundation really, you know, they're supportive of a lot of community things. And one of the board members kind of laughed at us and was like, you're going to raise $2 million to do this? And it was like, yeah, watch us. You can be a part of it or not. And they did. The rest of the board, they donated us $20,000 and we're like, go get it, ladies. And then a year later, we reapproached them, and that board member apologized. He's like, I owe you a big apology. I didn't think you were going to be able to raise $1 million, you know, let alone $2 million, and you did it. And I am sorry, and you guys got this.
and that was really our goal too. Like, we wanted to reach outside our community bounds as much as we could to show our community that, like, hey, we have this outside support, like, you can support us too, and to kind of join us like along that journey. And so I think that was really important, and to show people, like, we're not trying to make this like all a burden, like, locally on people. Like, we really want this to be a shared experience and to help us get across the finish line with local dollars.
And we've also partnered with a lot of businesses. So, like, we partnered with the school to provide our meals. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have to put a commercial kitchen in, which takes a lot of space and a lot of money. The city, we've partnered with the city for half of our green space is actually city ground, and so we're in a long-term lease with them for our play space. And we've used LB 840 funding that the city, you know, mm-hmm. approved and whatnot. And yep. So we've had a lot of that community support, just with our entities within.
Yeah, absolutely. Could not have got to the finish line without.
So you had all this positive financial momentum on all the other fronts too. Talk about securing this space on Main Street specifically and sort of the accommodations of the facility today.
Yeah. So there's actually a building across the street that is larger, but it didn't have a green space. And it was a pretty empty building. There was like 2 cubicles in there. And so it's a gentleman that owns it, actually lives in California, but is from Ainsworth. And so we reached out to him just on a whim of, hey, would you be interested in selling this building? This is what we'd like to do. And he worked with us to get tax credits and didn't charge us probably what that building was worth. And then the Nazarene Church actually owned this space, and it was a community space called The Connection. So anyone could use it, you know, free will donations. And it was like, hey guys, let's do a swap. And so they got a really nice large building, and we got a smaller building, but we had a green space. And so the building today looks nothing like it did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We had a project manager out of Omaha actually kind of helped us along the way for building. And we actually met with all of the local contractors. We had a building in the old Connection with no power out in the front. Mm-hmm. And so we had all of our local contractors, subcontractors come in, and we kind of gave them our pitch and our plan, and we want to do everything as locally as we can. And Devin Crawford ended up a local kid. This was his first big commercial project, but he has a degree in commercial construction.
Yep.
And so he jumped off the deep end with us to kind of, you know, work with a bunch of women and make this work, because they had 2 young children. And so his wife is a vet, and they also needed childcare. And so we worked with an architect out of Kearney who were super involved and listened to our vision and what we wanted, and worked with Riley, who has the interior design degree, and we really utilize the space as much as we can. So this is a 5,500 square foot facility with an unfinished basement, and you have to have certain square footage per children. And so, we have 3 classrooms. We ended up combining the preschool ages, so 3 and up, to utilize the space better. So we didn't have to put another wall in, which cut into square footage. And so we've used every possible inch of this building to have the space we need. And this was 2 buildings. So there were certain things, this wall we couldn't move.
Yeah.
That had to be there. So that kind of also dictated where things went and how we used it.
Yeah, so in the interesting building trade, our community got a bigger space kind of to host community events, and we got a great green space and really functional space for our kids and our families. And we have the 3 rooms. We have a capacity of 46 children. We employ anywhere from 9 to 12 employees. We have a director, assistant director, and we're not at full capacity today, but in the fall are looking to be close to. But yeah, it's been a great ride, and this space has been great, and it's been really fun to be on our main street and just see kids playing as you're driving by and local businesses, and it just feels like it's brought a new youthful life to our main street. It's been really
fun to drive by Main Street, and I see some older couples that walk on Main Street, and they're stopping, leaning over the fence, watching the kids play. I don't know if you've seen that or not. I love it.
It's sweet,
and they interact with the kids, and
we're just across the green space, there's the community theater. That's a community run project. So there's just some other things on Main Street that there's definitely been a lot of new life brought to our Main Street, and it's been cool just to be a piece of that too.
Yeah. Well, on the front of revitalizing main streets in rural Nebraska and bringing new businesses and life to rural communities, I feel like the Child Care Center plays an integral role in really attracting people to see opportunity in your community. How have you seen that at play since the center opened, and what kind of opportunities do you think it has opened up for people in Ainsworth?
Absolutely. I think for me that was a big part of why I really wanted to join the board, is just as I have my own family now with 3 kids and seeing it, being a part of the piece that recruits and retains young families to stay here. There's a lot of families that maybe they want to stay, but maybe they can't because it's such a juggle to work with childcare or recruiting the young families here. The first thing they're going to look for is, okay, what does it look like for my family to live there, or childcare, what's available? And we're the first thing that shows online. As it is harder to find listings for in-home providers or reviews or just figuring that out. So that's really why I joined, and I think it's been so fun to see we can be a stable core of the community as we have to be open no matter if just one person gets sick or whatever. We have certain days we're closed a year. We can be a reliable backbone of the community so that our workforce can show up at work. And I just think it's so important as we attract and retain our young people here specifically.
And so we have partnered with the hospital from that recruitment perspective. So, the 3 big businesses, right? It's the hospital, the school, and us for a recruitment tool, because those are the people that are recruiting the most. And so I think that's why they partnered with us. We just got a new doctor in town a year ago that has 2 young children, and so they're bringing their kids here part-time because she's a teacher, and it's all kinds of stuff. We recruited our elementary principal. They had 4 kids. This was a big play for them. I'm not from here. When we moved here and my husband moved back to the ranch, the first thing I asked was, where are we going to send our kids? And he's like, well, there's childcare everywhere. There's not. Until this opened, my kids have been at 4 different in-homes, and 2 of them were just friends that stayed home. And so we have a lot of young families, shockingly, back here. And it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Younger families know that we need dual incomes. Nebraska, I think, is the highest in the country at 72% dual income families. It's a big deal for people to be able to work.
Yeah, and just being a part of that, just seeing our ag community, what it is, this next generation of young families who are coming back to operations in this area. Our board is about almost half, like, has spousal income involved in agriculture. But yeah, 72% of all parents work in households in Nebraska. So just being a part of that and seeing what this next generation of agriculture, it takes two incomes, it takes, everyone. So I think it's just getting people to buy in to see that vision, like, okay, if you want people to come back even to our local operations, like, we need more support for that too.
Well, if someone's listening to this and they're facing a childcare shortage in their rural community and they want to do something about it, obviously I know this was a multifaceted process to get to this point, but if you could give them very high-level steps of how they could make it happen, what would you say to them?
I think the first thing is, if you want to create change in your community, you have to be the one to see it through. And if you are the one with a problem, you have to be the one to address it and be willing to have conversations about it and take action. So we both poured a lot of our time, effort, and unpaid time and effort into this, but we're also getting so much reward from this.
And I would say, get a good board. You need a good group of people to work together with that you're not going to be in conflict with, and you don't have to agree on everything, but you have to be grown-ups. Our board doesn't agree on everything, but we do what's best for the group. Mm-hmm. And so you need a group of people that are going to work together, that have progressive thought, and are willing to ask for help. Mm-hmm. If you can't have that, you're not going to be successful in creating anything. And for a child care center especially, there is a lot of facets to it that none of us knew.
I tell people all the time, we could not have replicated our board, like, all women just working together, like, this just covering so many unique skill sets. So I think that's huge. And then the resources with First 5 Nebraska and everything like that. But I think if they're starting,
and Nebraska Children and Families,
but I think, the board support and just covering your bases there, and
you have to believe in yourself. It's a tagline I've always said, but you give a group of moms a problem and they're gonna solve it.
Yeah.
So with childcare, it always seems to come down to moms. It's just how it is. Yeah. And so we had a group of really determined moms that had a big problem, and we fixed it.
Yeah.
Well, it's so cool to see how passionate you both are about this project, and I could pick your brain for hours about all the things that went into making this a reality. But I guess I'd like to close getting to know, as two professional women yourself, what has been the most rewarding part of seeing this through and getting to send your kids now on this end of things?
So for me, it's my kids wake up in the morning and they're like, "We're going to AC/DC." And I bring my 3-year-old daughter in, and she runs down the hallway and she sees Miss Chloe, and she's like, "Bye, Mom." Like, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to play. I'm happy to run around. And there's so many kids that are happy to be here. Mm-hmm. They feel safe. They feel loved. They get to just play and learn through play. And it's been so rewarding as a parent and to see the other children come in here, and they're not crying because they don't want to stay. They're like, "Peace out, Mom. See you this afternoon."
Yeah, I'd say for me, it's that, like, seeing the support we can be for the community. But honestly, for me, I feel like the biggest thing has been the people we employ. Like, I'm super proud of our teachers and the people we employ. And I'm just so proud, like, that they're the people that get to care and love on our children. And, like, a lot of times a big perk is that they get to take their kids to work with them, and I think that's really special, and I'm just really proud of the people and teachers we employ. They've been incredible, and I just feel really blessed to work with them too, and they do an amazing job. We could not do it without them. I feel like we walk in and I'm like, "What can we do to support you?" We're such a small piece in that, and they're the ones in the trenches every day.
Well, what an incredible resource for the community. Thank you so much for spending some time and sharing about it.
Thank you.
Well, once again, that's Karen O'Hare and Haley Miles, President and Vice President of the Ainsworth Child Development Center Board. Thanks to our partners at the Engler Agribusiness Entrepreneurship Program for their support of this podcast, and we'll catch you next time.